The mining station floated in silence above the dead world. It was a place of steel corridors, old machines, and tired men. No sunlight ever reached here, only the dim glow of red warning lights and the hum of engines. Ethan Cole was one of the engineers. He lived day after day fixing broken pipes, checking air systems, and listening to the endless noise of metal. Most workers had grown numb, their faces hard, their voices empty. But Ethan was different. He still listened. He still cared, even when the others laughed at him for being soft. One night, as he walked alone through the abandoned south wing, he heard something strange. It was faint at first, like wind through the vents, but then it grew sharper, softer, almost like a cry. He stopped, holding his breath. The sound came again, weak, trembling, desperate. It was not a machine, not a broken pipe, not the hiss of steam. It was the sound of someone begging. Ethan's heart pounded. No one should be here. This wing had been closed for years. The walls were cracked, the lights half dead, the air filled with dust, but the sound was clear. A young voice whispering through the steel like a ghost. "Help me, please." The words froze him in place. He turned, shining his torch down the dark corridor. Nothing. Only shadows stretching like claws across the walls. Still, the cry returned, softer now, but filled with pain. Ethan swallowed hard. He knew. The rule. Ignore strange sounds, report only to the guards, keep walking. That was how everyone survived on the station. But his feet moved on their own, carrying him deeper into the dark. The corridors twisted like a maze. Pipes hissed overhead, and the air smelled of rust. At last he reached a heavy door half hidden by cables. It was marked with yellow paint. Restricted access, do not enter. But behind it the cries grew clearer. A voice of fear, of sorrow, of someone locked away. With trembling hands, Ethan forced the door open. The hinges screamed, the dust fell, and he stepped inside. The room was small, dim, and cold. At its center stood a cage of black steel, thicker than any prison cell. Chains hung from its bars, glowing faintly with strange blue energy. And inside, curled against the corner, was a girl, but not a human girl. Her skin shimmered pale like moonlight. Her eyes glowed silver, and faint markings ran across her arms like rivers of light. Her hair fell across her face, tangled and wild. She was young, no older than 16 by human measure. And she was chained, wrists bound, ankles locked, her body trembling with weakness. When she saw him, her eyes widened. She pressed against the bars, whispering with all the strength left in her. You can hear me. Please. Help me." Ethan froze. Every story he had ever heard about aliens came rushing back, dangerous, cunning killers of men. But looking at her, all he saw was fear. Her voice cracked with pain, her chains rattled with every movement. She was no monster. She was a prisoner, a child in suffering. Still, his mind screamed at him to run. If the guards found him here, he would be punished, maybe worse. But his heart refused to move. He stepped closer, whispering, "Who are you?" The girl shook her, head tears falling down her silver cheeks. "They hurt me, they keep me here. No one listens, no one answers, only you." Her voice broke and she sank back to the floor, clutching her chains. Ethan's hands shook. Why was she here? Why had no one said anything? The station leaders never spoke of prisoners, never spoke of war. They always said the aliens were far, away, enemies beyond the stars. And yet here, hidden in this abandoned wing, was one of them. Suffering in silence, he felt anger rise in his chest. Not at her, but at the lies, at the cruelty, at the silence of all the men who walked past without caring. The cry he had followed was not just sound, it was truth, and he was the only one who had answered. The girl looked at him again, eyes glowing faintly like stars trapped in water. "Please, don't leave me here. You're the only one who came." Ethan's heart ached. He wanted to break the lock, to tear down the cage, to carry her out into the light. But fear chained him as tightly as the steel held her. If he touched that lock, the guards would know. The leaders would know. And then, he would be next in the cage, so he stepped back, whispering, "I'll come back. I promise." The girl's eyes widened, desperate hope burning in them. And as Ethan slipped out of the room, the sound of her chains followed him, a sound that would never leave his ears. For the first time, he realized the station was not just a place of work. It was a prison, and he had just found the darkest secret hidden inside its walls. And somewhere deep inside, he knew one thing was true. This was only the beginning. The next day on the mining station began like every other. Engines groaned, alarms buzzed, workers moved like machines through endless halls. No one spoke of hope, only of shifts, credits, and survival. But Ethan Cole's mind was trapped in the south wing. He could still hear her cries, still see her silver eyes staring through the bars. The image of the alien girl in chains haunted him like a shadow he could not escape. At breakfast, he tried to tell a fellow worker, "There's someone in the old wing," he whispered, voice shaking. But the man's face went pale. He slammed his cup down, leaned close, and hissed, "Forget it, Cole, you hear me? If you value your life, you'll forget." Then he stood up and walked away without another word. Ethan sat frozen. The warning felt sharper than any knife. The silence of the others confirmed it. They all knew, and none dared speak. Fear ruled this station more tightly than any captain's order. Later, as he fixed a broken pump, 2 guards walked past him, their voices low but sharp. "Check the cage again tonight," one muttered. "Orders from above. She must not be seen." The other chuckled darkly. "No one ever goes there except the rats and ghosts." Their laughter echoed in Ethan's chest like poison. That night he could not rest. Every creak of the walls reminded him of her chains. Every gust of air through the vents carried the memory of her voice. At last, he rose, grabbed his torch, and slipped into the abandoned south wing once more. The halls were darker now, as if the station itself wanted to hide its secret. He reached the heavy door again, heart pounding. Inside, the cage still stood, the same cold prison. And inside it, the girl, Lyra. Her eyes lifted when she saw him, faint light shimmering within them. "You came back," she whispered, her voice weak but filled with relief. Ethan stepped closer. "I shouldn't be here," he muttered. "They warned me. They said you're dangerous." Lyra shook her head, pulling at her chains. "Dangerous?" she whispered bitterly. "Look at me, human. Do I look dangerous?" Her wrists were raw, her body thin, her breath heavy with exhaustion. She was not a warrior, not a monster. She was a prisoner barely holding on to life. "They lie to you," she said, her voice trembling with anger. "They tell you I am a threat. But I was captured, stolen from my people. I am no soldier." Her silver eyes locked on his, sharp and pleading. "They need me, but not for safety, not for peace. They want what I know." Ethan frowned, confused. "What do you know?" Lyra hesitated, fear flickering across her face. "My people guard secrets of the stars, paths no human ship should take, weapons that should never be built. They want me to give it to them." Her voice cracked. "But I will not. So they chain me, they hurt me, they wait for me to break." Ethan's chest tightened. He thought of the guards, their cruel laughter, their secrecy. Was this the truth, or another trap woven with clever words? "How do I know you're not lying?" he asked quietly. Lyra lifted her arm, showing him scars that glowed faintly under her skin. Marks of burns, cuts, and wounds no human should endure. Her voice fell to a whisper. "They do not keep liars in cages, Ethan Cole. They keep the ones they fear." The sound of his name startled him. "How do you?" She gave a faint, broken smile. "I heard them speak of you. The only one who still listens. The only one soft enough to hear the cries in the dark." Her words shook him more than he wished. He wanted to turn away, to deny her, to silence the storm rising inside his chest, but when he looked at her, he could not. "I can't free you," he whispered, voice heavy with guilt. If they find out, they'll kill me. Lyra lowered her head, chains clinking. I do not ask for freedom tonight, she murmured. I only ask you not to leave me in silence. Bring me water, bring me food, let me survive another day. You are the only one who came. Ethan stood frozen, torn between fear and pity. If he helped her, even in small ways, he would be risking everything. But if he walked away, he knew her voice would haunt him forever. He nodded slowly, his throat dry. I'll bring something tomorrow. Lyra's silver eyes softened, shimmering with faint hope. Her whisper was almost too soft to hear. Then I will wait for you, human. As Ethan left the chamber, the shadows of the cage followed him like a curse. His hands shook, his breath shallow, his mind screaming that he was making a mistake. But deep inside, another voice whispered louder. The voice that told him he had done the only human thing left. And in the silent corridors of the south wing, the chains rattled once. More not with despair, but with a fragile hope that one man, just one, might change everything. The next day passed in slow torment for Ethan. He tried to work on broken air filters, tried to focus on the endless hum of the engines, but his thoughts never left the cage. Every sound of hissing steam reminded him of chains. Every flicker of light became silver eyes in the dark. At night, while the station slept, he carried a small pack of water and stale bread hidden under his coat. His hands shook as he slipped once more into the abandoned south wing. He hated the silence there. Too heavy, too deep, as if the walls themselves knew what he was about to do. The door groaned open. Inside the cage, Lyra stirred weakly, her eyes glowing faintly. When she saw him, her face lit with a fragile hope. You came, she whispered, voice cracked with thirst. Ethan knelt by the bars, sliding the bottle through the gap. She seized it, drinking greedily, the water running down her chin. He pushed the bread after, and she ate in silence. Only when finished did she look at him again. Why are you helping me? She asked, voice trembling. He hesitated, searching for words. Because no one else will, he muttered. Because I can't stand hearing you cry and doing nothing. For a moment, she only stared. Then she leaned closer to the bars, her eyes burning into his. You risk your life for me. That means you still have a heart, Ethan Cole. Her words unsettled him. She spoke his name as though she had known him forever. He tried to look away, but she continued. They tell you lies, don't they? She whispered. They tell you I am a danger, a threat, but the truth is far darker, human. Ethan frowned. What truth? Lyra lowered her voice as if even the walls might be listening. They want war, she said. Your leaders, your captains. They prepare for it in secret. They captured me because I knew, because I warned my people. They want the paths, between the stars, the maps my kind have guarded for centuries. With those paths they could reach worlds untouched, worlds filled with power and life. And if they cannot take it, they will burn it. Ethan's mouth went dry. Her words felt like fire in his mind. Could it be true? The leaders always claimed humans only defended themselves, only wanted peace. Yet here she was, chained, broken, whispering of conquest. I don't know if I can believe you, he said, voice low. Lyra stretched her scarred wrists through the bars, the glowing marks of her wounds plain under the torchlight. Do liars carry chains like these? She whispered. Do liars bleed and starve in silence? He stared, unable to answer. Every scar was a story, every wound a proof. Still fear gnawed at him. If she spoke truth, then everything he believed about the station, about humanity, was a lie. What do you want from me? He asked at last. Lyra leaned closer, her voice soft, urgent. Not freedom, not yet, she said, but survival. Bring me food. Bring me water. Keep me alive long enough. Long enough for what is coming. Ethan stiffened. What's coming? Lyra's silver eyes darkened. My people, she whispered. They feel my pain across the stars. They know I am chained. They will come for me. And when they arrive, this place will burn. Unless She stopped, her voice catching. Unless what? Ethan pressed. Her gaze pierced him. Unless I show them one human chose differently, unless I prove that not all your kind are monsters. Ethan's breath caught. The weight of her words pressed heavy on his chest. One human against an entire war. Him. The quiet engineer who had never even fired a weapon. Could that matter? Could that change anything? He shook his head. This is madness, he whispered. If they find me helping you, I'll die. Lyra's voice broke, but her eyes held him still. Then die with purpose, human, she said. Better to fall, for mercy, than live in silence. The air between them grew heavy. Ethan felt as if he stood at the edge of a cliff, one step forward, and there would be no return. At last, he whispered, I'll keep you alive, but that's all I can promise. Lyra's lips curved into the faintest smile. Then that is enough, she murmured. For in the darkness, even the smallest light can guide the stars. The words echoed inside him as he left the chamber. For the first time, Ethan felt the future pressing against him like a storm waiting to break. He knew he was no longer just an engineer. He had become something else, a keeper of a secret, a man standing between silence and truth, and deep inside, though he tried to deny it, he felt the shadow of what Lyra had said. Her people were coming. The war was closer than anyone dared to admit, and he, Ethan Cole, had already chosen a side. The days on the mining station grew heavier. To Ethan, every sound felt sharper, every shadow longer. He could no longer move through the halls without wondering who was watching him. The secret of the cage pressed against his chest like a hidden wound. He still carried food and water into the south wing, always at night, always in silence, and every time he returned, Lyra's silver eyes greeted him with hope that grew brighter. But hope was not the only thing that grew. Something else was stirring in the station. Something darker. It began with small accidents. A power line sparking in the lower decks. A control panel bursting into flames without warning. Men whispered that the machines were failing. Others swore it was sabotage. The guards searched the workers, barked orders, locked down sections. Yet nothing stopped the chain of failures. Ethan heard the rumors spreading. Some claimed the accidents were caused by ghosts. Others said the aliens had already infiltrated the station, but none dared to speak of the girl in the cage. That truth remained locked in whispers no one wanted to admit. One night, as Ethan delivered water, Lyra spoke in a trembling voice. It has begun, she whispered, her eyes glowing faintly in the dark. My people can feel me. They know where I am. They know I suffer. Their minds reach across the stars, and the station will not remain untouched. Ethan froze, the torchlight shaking in his hand. You mean, these accidents, this is them? Lyra nodded slowly. They test the walls of this place. They send warnings. The more I hurt, the stronger their call becomes. If they find me still in chains, they will not show mercy. They will strike, and your people will burn. Ethan's throat tightened. You're saying if I free you, they might not attack? Her eyes locked on his. If I stand beside them unbroken, if I tell them one human showed compassion, then maybe the fire can be held back. But if they find me caged, tortured, silenced, then nothing will stop the war. The words dug into him like claws. His mind spun between fear and disbelief. If she spoke truth, the entire station was a ticking bomb. But if she lied, then freeing her would bring the very war she warned against. Before he could speak, a sudden boom shook the chamber. The walls trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere above, alarms wailed, red lights flashing. Ethan staggered, gripping the bars. What was that? Lyra's chains rattled as she lifted her head. They are closer, she whispered. My people, or something darker. The station's speakers crackled with harsh voices. All workers remain at posts. Report any strange behavior. Report any sightings of sabotage. The words repeated again and again, filling the air with dread. Ethan, pressed his hand to the cold bars. I don't know what to believe, he muttered. I don't even know if helping you will save anyone. Lyra's voice cut through the alarms. Then believe only what you see, Ethan Cole. You saw my chains, my scars, my suffering. Was that a lie? You saw the cruelty of your own guards, their laughter as I starved, and was that false? Her eyes burned. You want to doubt me, then doubt. But your doubt will not stop what is coming. The only question is, when it arrives, will you stand, as a man who listened, or a man who turned away? Ethan's heart pounded, every word twisted inside him. He wanted to run, to bury the truth, to pretend none of this was real. But deep inside, he knew he could not. Suddenly, heavy footsteps echoed in the corridor outside, guards, their voices sharp and cold. Check this wing, something tripped the sensors. If anyone's down here, we'll drag them out. Ethan's blood ran cold. He turned to Lyra, who looked at him with wide eyes. Go, she whispered. If they catch you, they'll kill you. But his feet refused to move. If the guards entered, they would see the food, the water, the proof of his betrayal. Panic surged through him. He grabbed the empty bottle, stuffed it into his coat, wiped the crumbs from the floor. The chains rattled as Lyra crouched back into the shadows, her voice low. Hide your mercy, human, for their eyes see only weakness. The door creaked open, torchlight spilling inside. Ethan pressed himself against the far wall, praying the shadows would hold him. 2 guards entered, scanning the cage. One spat on the floor. Still alive. Barely. Don't know why the captain keeps her, should have spaced her months ago. The other chuckled. Orders are orders, as long as she breathes, she's useful. Come on, let's go. They left as quickly as they came, the door slamming shut behind them. Ethan's chest heaved, his body shaking. Lyra watched him silently, her silver eyes filled with something deeper than fear. Sorrow. You see now? She whispered. You see what they are, and you know what you must do. Ethan couldn't answer. He stumbled out of the chamber, his mind a storm. The station groaned around him, alarms still wailing, shadows twisting. Every step he took echoed with the same truth. The signs were clear. The enemy was no longer far away. The enemy was already here. The station did not sleep that night. Alarms echoed through the steel halls, red lights flashed like bleeding stars. Men shouted orders, guards stormed through corridors, weapons ready. Something had torn a hole in the outer hull, and fear spread. Like fire, Ethan ran with the others, pretending to work, pretending to follow orders. But his mind was not on repairs. His thoughts dragged him back to the cage, to the girl with silver eyes who had warned him this would come. When his shift ended, he did not go to his bunk. Instead, he slipped once more into the abandoned south wing. The air was colder there, the silence heavier. He opened the door, and there she was, curled in her chains, her body trembling. Lyra lifted her head as he entered. They are here, she whispered. Her voice was weak, but her eyes blazed with fear. My people are near. I can feel them pressing against the edges of this place, but if they see me like this, chained, broken, they will destroy everything, every man, every wall, every life, burned to ash. Ethan's chest tightened. You mean I have to free you? Lyra's chains rattled as she reached toward him. Please, Ethan Cole, I told you before. 1 act of mercy can change the stars. If I stand with them unchained, if I tell them a human chose kindness, they may hold back their fire. But if I am still caged, they will not listen to words. They will listen only to my pain. Ethan turned, away, pacing in the dim light. His hands shook, his breath shallow. If I free you, I'll be hunted, I'll be marked a traitor. They'll throw me in the cage or kill me outright. Lyra's voice cracked. If you leave me here, then their wrath will kill far more than you. Your leaders have already chosen war, but you can still choose something different. Another explosion thundered through the walls. The station shuddered, dust falling from the ceiling. Ethan stumbled, his torch flickering. Outside, voices screamed, "Hull breach! Drones incoming!" Gunfire rattled in the distance, sharp and merciless. The war was no longer waiting. It had arrived. Lyra's eyes locked onto his, silver light shining through tears. You must decide now, she whispered. Leave me, and Your people die, free me, and maybe, just maybe, they live. Ethan's heart pounded. He felt the weight of every life on the station pressing onto his shoulders. He was no soldier, no leader, no captain, just an engineer with grease on his hands and fear in his chest. And yet, in this moment, he was more than that. He was the only one standing at the breaking point. The alarm screamed louder. The lights flickered. The ground shook again. Somewhere close, a metal wall tore open, and the hiss of alien air filled the corridors. Time was gone. There would be no later, no tomorrow, only this choice. Ethan stared at the lock, thick and humming with blue energy. His hands trembled as he reached for the heavy wrench at his belt. He raised it high, and for a heartbeat he froze. Every voice in his head screamed, traitor, fool, coward. But above them all was one voice, Lyra's voice. You are the only one who came. With a roar, he swung. The wrench crashed into the lock, sparks flying, the metal groaning. He struck again and again, until the lock cracked. The cage door swung open with a heavy screech. Lyra gasped, stumbling forward as the chains fell loose. For a moment, Ethan's chest filled with terror. What if she turned on him? What if she had tricked him from the start? But instead she fell against him, weak and trembling. Thank you, she whispered, her voice breaking. You have given me back the sky. Ethan barely had time to breathe before another blast shook the station. The door to the chamber burst open and a guard stormed inside, weapon raised. His eyes widened at the sight of the open cage, the broken lock. You, he roared. You freed it. Ethan froze, his mind racing. The guard leveled his weapon at him, but before he could fire, a blinding flash of silver light filled the room. Lyra raised her hand, and energy rippled out from her skin. The guard screamed, his weapon sparking, before he collapsed to the ground unconscious. Ethan stared in shock, his heart pounding. Lyra swayed, weak from the effort, but she turned her eyes to him. Now you see why they fear me, she whispered. The alarms wailed. The ground shook again. Outside, the war raged closer. Inside, Ethan stood face to face with the truth. The girl he had freed was no ordinary prisoner. She carried power within her, a power strong enough to turn the tide of battle. And for better or worse, that power was now unchained. The door behind them rattled with more footsteps, more guards coming. Ethan gripped the wrench, his breath sharp, his future uncertain. There was no turning back. The breaking point had passed and the storm was here. The mining station shook like a dying beast. Alarms screamed through every corridor, red light pulsing like a heartbeat. Guards shouted, workers ran, weapons fired in distant halls. The war had reached them, and there was no hiding anymore. Ethan Cole stood frozen beside the open cage. A guard lay unconscious on the floor. Sparks, still flickering from his weapon, and beside him, trembling but free, stood Lyra. Her silver eyes glowing brighter than he had ever seen. She swayed on weak legs, her body scarred and thin, yet her presence filled the chamber with a strange power. Ethan, she whispered, her voice trembling but steady. You chose mercy. That choice will be remembered. Before he could answer, the walls shook again. A metal beam split, and icy air hissed into the room. Through the crack, Ethan saw something terrifying. A swarm of alien drones, black as shadow, crawling across the outer hull like insects on glass. Their eyes burned red, their weapons glowed, and their claws cut into steel. The station's guards opened fire, but the drones moved too fast. Energy bolts sliced the air, men screamed, alarms blared. Ethan backed away, heart pounding. This is it, isn't it? Your people. They're here to kill us all. Lyra placed a trembling hand on his arm. No, she said. They are here for me. If they find me chained, they will kill. But if they see me free, if I speak to them, I can stop the fire. Her voice carried a desperate hope, but Ethan's doubt tore at him. How can I trust that? How do I know you won't call them to destroy us anyway? Lyra's silver eyes met his, fierce and unbroken despite her scars. Because if I wanted your death, I would not need them, she whispered. She lifted her hand, and once more the air rippled with silver light. The unconscious guard's weapon shattered into dust. Her voice trembled. "This power could kill you where you stand, but I did not. I will not." Ethan stared, his chest tight. He had seen cruelty from his own people. Guards who mocked her suffering, leaders who hid her cage. And yet here she was, stronger than any of them, and she still chose mercy. Suddenly, the wall burst open, torn by claws. 3 alien drones swarmed inside, weapons ready, their red eyes glowing with hunger. Ethan raised his wrench, but he knew it was useless. The drones turned toward him, then stopped. Lyra stepped forward, chains still clinking faintly from her ankles. She raised her hands, her silver light spilling across the chamber. Her voice echoed in a language Ethan did not understand, sharp and flowing like music wrapped in thunder. The drones froze, their weapons dimming. One tilted its head, scanning her. Then, as if obeying, they lowered their arms and stepped back. The red glow in their eyes faded to pale blue. Ethan's jaw dropped. They listened to you," he whispered. Lyra turned, her face pale but steady. "They are mine to command. But they are not here to destroy. Not if I stop them. And I can, because of you." Ethan shook his head. "Because of me? I didn't do anything except break a lock." Her eyes softened. "You gave me freedom. No weapon, no power, no army could have done that, only mercy. And mercy is stronger than fear." Ethan struggled for words. The station was collapsing around them. Men fighting, dying, machines breaking. And yet in this ruined chamber he felt something he had not felt in years. Hope. Before he could speak, the speakers crackled to life. The captain's harsh voice boomed across the halls. "Attention, all personnel. Contain the alien at once. Cole has betrayed us. He is to be shot on sight. Do not let either of them escape." The words slammed into Ethan like a hammer. Every worker, every guard, every desperate soul on the station now knew the truth. He was no longer an engineer, no longer one of them. He was a traitor. Lyra's face darkened. "They will come for you now, your own people, your own kind." Ethan's throat tightened. "All because I listened," he muttered bitterly. She touched his shoulder, her voice soft. "Then let that listening mean something. Stand with me, Ethan Cole. Not as jailer, not as prisoner, but as proof. Proof that one human heart can break the chains of war." Her words pierced him deeper than the alarms, deeper than the captain's threats. He looked at her, at the drones, waiting in silence at the broken lock on the floor, and he realized the unseen truth. The war had never been only between humans and aliens. The real war was between cruelty and compassion, between silence and mercy. And in this war, his choice already mattered. The chamber shook as more footsteps thundered toward them. Shouts filled the halls, the guards closing in. Ethan gripped his wrench, standing beside Lyra. He did not know if they would survive, but he knew one thing. He would no longer stand on the side of silence. As the door burst open, light flooding in, and weapons raised, Ethan's heart raced. The unseen truth was now in the open, and the final choice had arrived. The door burst open with a crash. Blinding light filled the chamber, and a squad of guards stormed in, weapons raised. Their eyes locked on the open cage, the unconscious soldier on the ground, and Ethan standing beside the alien girl. "There he is," one shouted. "Cole freed the creature, kill him!" Ethan tightened his grip on the wrench, his breath sharp, his heart hammering. The guards raised their rifles, red dots dancing across his chest. Beside him, Lyra stood tall despite her weakness, silver eyes burning, chains clinking at her ankles. For a moment, time seemed frozen. One breath, one choice, one chance. Before the first shot fired, Lyra stepped forward. She raised her hand, and a wave of silver light pulsed across the room. The guards stumbled, their weapons sparking, some collapsing to the floor, stunned but alive. Her voice rang out, clear and strong, not only in sound but in the air itself, a voice that carried weight. like thunder wrapped in song. "Enough," she said. "No more cages, no more chains, no more lies." The drones outside swarmed through the torn hull, filling the air with a low hum. They aimed their weapons at the humans, but froze, waiting for her word. Ethan staggered back, staring at her. You control them. You could kill us all right now." Lyra turned her gaze to him, her eyes soft. "I could," she whispered. "But because of you, I will not." The guards on the ground stared in fear. Some tried to crawl away, others cursed. His name, traitor, one spat. "You've doomed us all." Ethan clenched his jaw, their words slicing into him. Traitor. The word burned. But as he looked at Lyra, he felt something stronger than shame. He felt purpose. More soldiers arrived, the captain among them. His face was red with rage, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Cole, step away from it. You think you've saved us. You've destroyed us. That thing is a weapon, nothing more, and you will hang for this." The men cheered his words, hungry for blood. The captain raised his weapon, aiming at Lyra, but before he could fire, Ethan stepped in front of her. "Wrench in hand, if you want her," he shouted. "You'll have to go through me." The room went silent. The guards stared, stunned. The captain laughed, a cruel sound. You're nothing, Cole. An engineer with grease under his nails, you think you matter?" Ethan's voice rose, stronger than it had ever been. "I'm not a soldier, I'm not a leader, I'm just a man who listened. And if one human listening can make a difference, then maybe we're not lost." His words rang through the chamber. The guards shifted uneasily, some lowering their weapons, doubt flickering in their eyes. The captain roared in anger. "Shoot him! Shoot them both!" But before the order could be obeyed, the drones moved. They surrounded Ethan and Lyra, their weapons glowing. Yet instead of firing, they aimed at the guards, protecting the very human who had freed her. Lyra's voice rose again, clear and unshaken. "My people are here if I command. They will burn this station, but I will not. Because one human showed mercy. One human proved your kind is not beyond hope." The captain cursed, raising his weapon again, but a drone struck, knocking it from his hands. He fell to the floor, powerless, his fury useless against the tide that had turned. Ethan stood trembling. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But in this moment, he knew he had chosen his side. Not with fear, not with silence, but with mercy. Lyra turned to him, her silver eyes softening. "You could come with us," she whispered. "My people would protect you. You would be safe." Ethan looked at her, then at the men cowering against the walls, the workers who had never spoken, the guards who had followed orders like machines. Safe. The word tempted him, but he shook his head slowly. "No. If I leave, then nothing changes. If I run, they'll say I betrayed humanity. But if I stay, if I face what comes, then maybe they'll remember. Maybe they'll know one man chose mercy, and that choice saved them all." Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. Sadness and pride mingled in her eyes. "Then your courage will be written in the stars," she whispered. The drones began to retreat, slipping back into the torn halls. The hum of their weapons faded. The alarms quieted. The war had not ended, not truly. But for this moment, fire had been held back. Ethan watched as Lyra stepped into the light, free at last, her presence shining like a star against the dark steel of the station. She turned one last time, her voice carrying through the air. "You were the only one who came, Ethan Cole, and because of that, your kind has another chance." Then she was gone, swallowed by the swarm of drones disappearing into the broken sky. Ethan stood alone, the guards staring at him in silence, the station broken, the war still looming. But inside him, a fire burned brighter than fear. He was just one man, one voice, one choice. And sometimes, that was enough.